It would help if I add myself to the stream. Hello. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy whatever day it is on the replay. Thank you so much for tuning in to this special edition of SciVive Live. I am a wild SJ. If you have never seen me before, don't know anything about me or my content, welcome to my rabbit hole. I am who you will find usually if you decide to look into who Richard Hart is and find that he is a man of many talents and has in fact written a book. His book is called Sci Vive. He's actually written two. There's a book called Sci Vive, 9 Ways to Fix the World, or nine ways to win at life, I think is the kind of subtitle we're going with. And then 15 Ways to Fix the World is another one of his brilliant masterpieces. Pardon me while I fix my light real quick. There we go. So I wanted to do this stream. Originally, I had a different plan for this. I was going to just live stream myself recording the last chapter of SciVive. And oops, sorry. And what I decided to do instead was talk about, like, go through a few of these paragraphs, give a few quotes, and talk about the fact that I don't think anything strange is happening with Richard. There are so many people that I've seen comment on, "Oh, I hope he's okay. I hope, Richard's all right." And I even saw someone say that they don't think this is him. They don't even think it's him tweeting these messages and saying these things. They want to see his face and they're worried about him. And I'm just like, y'all don't know. Now, let me preface this with where I've come from and how I know Richard and who he is. When I got into Hex, it was through a good friend of mine, Crypto Kool-Aid, and I knew nothing of Richard. I didn't know his name. I didn't know he made Hex. I didn't know anything about him. Not a thing. And for 6 months, I studied Hex and what it did and how it worked and slowly invested as I was learning. And then at some point, I found I was like, "Oh, okay, well, so I've invested in this coin and I want to know a little bit more about the person who created it." So I learned a little bit about Richard. Now, at that time, this was probably mid 2021. So again, right? Richard Hart Maxey since 2021. I did not know the top hat, pink curtain Richard. I didn't know anything about him being in Bitcoin. No clue. Had no clue who this man was. So I decided to look into him so that I felt better about what I was doing and what I was investing in. I wanted to feel secure. So at the time, he wasn't he's not the kind of person you'd think you'd feel secure about, right? He was doing unboxing videos and being very flamboyant and kind of gaudy with his appearance and what he was doing, and this was really, I think this was like a precursor to the actual outrage marketing, right? This was not necessarily outrage yet, but he was on his way there. And I was like, well, this is kind of goofy. Like, what's this dude all about? Now, I wish I could recall better this aspect of it, but I don't remember. Sorry, give me 1 second. I don't remember how I learned about SciVive. I don't know if it was through someone in the community. I think it was actually, let me take that back. I think it was through Bally at Bran. I remember watching Bran, and I remember him talking about SciVive and Maddie Allen as well. So both Bran and Maddie Allen, I think, helped lead me down the rabbit hole of SciVive. Now, I found out Richard had written this book, and I'm a traveler. I travel often. I love audiobooks. So I decided to listen to the audiobook. At the time, what I found was an audiobook. It was on YouTube. It was done by Ann Hex Crypto. Thank you so much, Ann Hex, for even getting that done. And it was a robotic text to speech version. So very mundane and no life in it, and it was really hard to listen to. So, I thought to myself, and this looking back, y'all, I don't know why or how this was inspired in me, but we talk often about synchronicities within our community and how we kind of just have this hive mind, right? So, upon listening to this version of SciVive, I thought to myself, I I really wanna know. I already loved it, like, just from reading the intro, I was like, "You know what? This sounds like really great advice. This sounds like something that I think a lot of people will wanna hear and will want to know about." So, something in me, some little fire in my heart decided, "You know what? I'm gonna read it anyways. Why don't I read it out loud and record it so that there's a human spoken version of SciVive?" And it is the most life-changing thing I've ever done. I'm so grateful to past me that I decided to do that, and it has become something that the community has just uplifted me through, and it's changed the course of my life. Not just doing this project, but the actual text of SciVive itself, because remember, I had never read it. So I didn't listen to the entirety of that audiobook. I didn't read the book. I did the audio as I was reading it and learning who this man was and what he so even as I was searching for something to not I was looking for a reason to not like Richard. I was specifically reading this book so that I could find some reason to not invest. Because so far, everything, all the check marks checked out. It's like, this looks great. Everything's awesome. Code is perfect. Math works out. Wonderful, right? But maybe this dude isn't that great. What I found was the absolute opposite. I don't agree with everything in SciVive, but for the most part, the advice that Richard gives, the actions that he's telling people to take, the things that he wants to perpetuate out into this world are some of the most brilliant and philanthropic type things I've ever heard in my life. And now maybe I've not read a whole ton of personal excellence type material, but I've read quite a bit, especially when it comes to finance. Before I got into Hex, I read a lot of things like Think and Grow Rich, Richest Man in Babylon, different books like that. So here we are now, right? It's been so that was 2021. It's 2023. I have spent no, hold on, let me think. So I believe I started doing this work early 2022. All the years blur together now. But so point being, I started reading SciVive, and I'll never forget the moment when at the Hex conference in March of 2022, I went to that. That was my first really big Hex meetup. And again, still didn't really like I knew at that point I knew kind of a little bit more about Richard. I was reading his book and but I didn't know his background. I didn't know how big of a, force he was in the crypto community and how big of a following he had, right? So when I went to the Hexpo and gave, I went up to speak to Richard and I was just like, "Hey man, like I'm going to read your book." And the moment that I said that, people stopped and clapped and like a few people stood up and I was just like, "Wow, this is really something, right? I'm really doing something here." So all of this to say, I didn't know who Richard was. I read SciVive and I learned who he is. And this doesn't surprise me one bit. What he's doing, what he's saying, how he's acting, it's not a surprise at all. If you've read SciVive, you'll understand. So, let's get to the meat, right? Let's read some of this amazing chapter. Now, longevity, I believe, I don't know 100%, but I do believe that the longevity chapter was added a little bit later because you'll see the original title is SciVive I think it's 9 ways to win at life, something along those lines. So there's broken up into threes, right? Triplets, right? Because 369 is a huge numerical, magical number that Richard subscribes to that, ideology a little bit, right? Look up Nikola Tesla and 369. Check out the stream that Proof of Beard Only one and Access Alive just did a few days ago. This is March 10th. I think it was the 8th that they did that. But those numbers, right? There's a reason for it, right? There's synchronicities within our community. There's synchronicities within those numbers. It's a beautiful thing. So it's mind, body, spirit. That's the first triplet. Mind, body, spirit. Money, power, respect. It's the second triplet. And then space, time, experience. That's the third triplet. And then at the end of that is longevity. That's the 10th chapter. And I believe longevity was added because not only because that's what Richard at his core believes in and wants to perpetuate in the world. If y'all watch his streams there's a great one, actually, I'm going to share this with you. There's a great archived stream that's from May 17th, 2017. And it's from Bitcoin Uncensored. It was taken down. I don't think it's on Richard's channel at all, but I just linked it in the chat. And there's a really great segment in there where Richard talks about his book and talks about what he's doing and talks about where he's going. And this was before I think Hex was even, a little apple in his eye kind of thing. Pardon me, just woke up. I need to drink my tears. Oh yeah. Ah, delicious, delicious tears of haters. So check that stream out and you will see why it makes so much sense. And as we go through this text here, you'll start to understand really the heart, pun intended, the heart of Richard Hart and who he is and how this all makes perfect sense that he's doing what he's doing. I'm going to start at the beginning of longevity and read the first paragraph because I like the way he conceptualizes this. So this is longevity. There's a subheading, understanding and visualizing, and then the chain of life. He says, you can visualize getting older and not dying as being like a chain. Each link in the chain is a different critical component to living. For this analogy to work, think of each different component as a link, and as soon as one breaks, you die. The act of getting really old and not dying is basically a chain where every single link stretches to its breaking point at the same time. You die earlier if one link gets stronger while the other gets weaker. Then the weaker one amplifies the rate it fails at. You can also get it without one getting stronger. It just helps the weak one to fail faster when it's surrounded by other strong ones, because it increases the rate it must stretch, for nothing else is stretching to absorb force. Thus, the analogy is great, but the chain needs to be made of different systems, circulatory, breathing, mental, etc., instead of nearly identical systems. So what he's saying there is we have all these systems in our bodies, right? We're composed of these different links of a chain that create who we are and how healthy we are and what's going on with us. So and if you study longevity at all, look into Aubrey de Grey, David Sinclair. Ooh, there's someone Richard just tweeted last night that he just donated $108 million, I think, to longevity research. I'll search for that in just a moment. But these scientists and philosophers, not just philosophers, I mean, these people are doing the work of figuring out how it is that we can live longer in total health. because like Richard has said multiple times, if you cure heart disease, you get 3 or 4 extra years. If you cure gosh, I can't remember if it's cancer. I wanna say ooh, there's 2 different things he always talks about. It's like heart disease and one other thing, but either way, if you cure the top 2 killers of people, you only get 3 to 4 extra years of life, right? It is cancer. Okay, so thank you. By the way, what's up to the chat? Let me say what's up real quick because I could rant on forever. So good morning to you. Hello, Will C. Thanks for coming by. T-Bird, always good to see you. Thanks for everything you do. Let's see. Good morning. Yes, yes, by the way, 100%. Things have been on fire for me, so thank you so much. Yay. Thanks. Yeah, the clips, it's it's a lot of work, but I'm still trying to do it. Yeah, Richard fixed my life, man. Me too. Me too. What's up, Red Squirrel? Oi, oi to you. Hex edits. What's up? Good day to you. Do Hex. Do Hex. Am I saying that right? All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you a ton, especially it being this early or late, wherever you are in the world. So, oh, so longevity. Yeah, check those people out. David Sinclair, Aubrey de Grey. They're doing great work. Oh, speaking of Aubrey de Grey, okay, y'all. I'm trying to up my StreamYard game. Back in the day, I tried sharing a music video once and it failed miserably and you couldn't hear the sound. So I'm gonna try this and I really hope it works. I want to share this clip of Richard of Aubrey de Grey speaking about Richard. This was on RH Max's show just a few days ago. RH Max interviewed Aubrey de Grey, and it was wonderful. I know Max said he's actually going to be sharing this clip a little bit later. He said he'd share it for me in the morning, but I'm like, darling, he's on the West Coast and I'm Central, so I was just like, it's early, it's all good. So let me see if I can share this. I'm hoping this works. Thanks for being here and sticking with me while I figure this out. Give me just a moment. We're gonna do window. This one. Okay. Okay, here's this. Now, let me know if y'all can hear this because this is the downfall of my my trying. I am not sure if you're going to be able to hear the sound. If not, I will post a link to this clip. In fact, I'll probably share out Max said he's going to post it, so I'll probably just share that out as well on Twitter and in this in the comments later. So, let's see what we can do. Ah, bummer. Okay, so I'm so sorry. Yeah, I don't know how. Um, I'm not sure how to do that, you guys. I apologize. I wish let me try one other thing. Let's see. Um, all right, let me try. Bummer. So I'll just repeat what he said. So basically, Max asks Aubrey, "What do you think of Richard Hart?" And without saying doing the whole spiel, Aubrey says, "He's a hero." He calls Richard Hart a hero. And that just warmed my heart so much. Let me get that out the way. Okay, so I have a lot to learn when it comes to streaming still, you guys. And that's something I want to encourage people. If you have been interested in streaming or you want to do it, look, I've been doing it for a year now and I still I still am not a pro. So, I want to encourage anyone out there to just do it. Just go for it. It's totally worth it and you'll learn as you go. So, yeah, apologies again, but point being, this man who is a brilliant mind in his field, probably the top longevity expert out there, calls Richard Hart a hero. And I could not agree more. I really truly believe I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame that the haters and people who, like myself maybe, didn't really know who Richard was and all they saw was that unboxing and the outrage marketing, and they didn't DYOR on him. They didn't do their own research. They did not decide to look further past the showy, flashy, Lambo big PP Richard, right? If they decided to just kind of stop there, right? And that's it, and that turned them off, right? What a shame. Because this man is amazing. I've been accused of being a cult leader, like, like being part of this, like, you're crazy, like, why are you talking about this guy all the time, right? I can't, I can't stop, right? Like, I can't stop because it makes too much sense for me to continue perpetuating out into the world who Richard really is. And for someone like myself who's spent the last year and a half diving into this book, reading it over and over. I've read it 4 or 5 times now in terms of between editing it and recording it, right? I've done several passes, and if you didn't know, other than actually doing the reading, I've edited the entire book. Those PDFs of the edited version are not gonna be released yet. I have to actually get a hold of Richard and find out what he wants to do about that because that will be going to and that will be going to another editor. So I am not a professional editor, but I've done a lot of it in the past. It's something that I am passionate about and I'm good at. So I took it upon myself as I was going to do the second edition of the narration, the professional version. I took a class, by the way. I decided to take a class to learn how to do professional audio recording and editing. And that's why you're seeing, if you look on my YouTube, please like and subscribe and comment, by the way. If you check that out, you'll see that I'm slowly uploading and replacing the old audio. The old audio will still be there in another playlist, but I'm updating the audio so that it's professional grade. Once that's all done, which I'm on the last chapter right now, longevity. Once I've finished recording that audio, it's going to go on to Audible. And that's a whole other process in itself. But I'm really excited about that because that'll be the first time that people, yes, you'll be able to see it on my YouTube and you'll be able to listen to it for free, but you will also be able to purchase it on Audible, right? And have it that way. And I'm super excited for Richard to be able to start seeing people want to pay for this knowledge because it is worth it for sure. So with all that in mind, let's continue. I'm going to read another paragraph from Longevity. This one it's a little further on in the beginning here. Pardon me, my ears are popping. Okay. And again, real quick to the chat, what is up? Sylvan, thanks for coming in. Thanks for the computer audio part thing. I'm using StreamYard and I know there's a way to do it, but I have not figured it out yet. But thank you. And Crypto Compassion, good to see you too. Thanks for tuning in. And Aiden, Yes, good to see you as well. So, okay, the heading of this little chapter within longevity is called Know Your Enemy. And it's a couple paragraphs. If you look above you in your family tree, you will see that 8 out of all the 10 people above you that are no longer alive oh, here we go. This is what I was talking about earlier. You'll likely to see, or sorry, the 10 people above you that are no longer alive are likely to have been killed by the same two things, cancer and heart disease. Guess what this means for you? It means you have about an 80% chance of dying of a heart attack or cancer as well. It is wise of you to hope. Oh, sorry. Is it wise of you to hope that someone else saves your life? Should you leave your fate and the fate of your loved ones and offspring to the chance that someone else works to find a cure for that which is definitely coming to steal away all that is important to you? The days of living with our heads in the sand and hoping that someone else cures our ailments for us are over. It is time now to take our destinies into our own hands and mold our futures in that which we are worthy of. The Grim Reaper is brandishing his scythe in plain view, and he's coming for you. He's coming to chop off your head and the heads of everyone you love and all your offspring. He's coming to kill all of you, and you're doing nothing to stop him. The more you mess around with the silliness of accepting the values of long dead people who lost the game, the more likely you are to share their fate. They left a book that is poorly written. There's got to be something better than this. I cannot wait, and I hope so much that I get to have a conversation with Richard Hart. I would love to talk to him about where, and I think he may have spoken on this in some form or fashion in the past, but for him to have just become enamored and wrapped up in the idea that people's lives can be saved and that people can live longer. There's another thing that he talks about several times in the book, which is imagine if some of our greatest minds, right? Imagine if Einstein, Tesla, Nikola Tesla, imagine if they had been given more life, if they had been into longevity. What other amazing experiments or breakthroughs could they have done, right? Had they had more time. So I'm just so curious to find out what it was, like what sparked Richard to get into longevity. And, how is it that he ended up down that rabbit hole, right? I love it. I mean, if you think about it, right? If I think about it, having known this man through his work in this way, it makes sense because I think it's the smartest thing. He's brilliant, you guys. Like, I know it's so funny having not any clue about who he was and being slightly turned off at first at like what he was doing. And now I'm in love. I really am. I think he is a phenomenal human being, and his mind just is, that there's an Eric Wareheim gif where he's like the universe. That to me is Richard's freaking mind. He's so smart, and I think he's so ahead of his time, which again could be a shame, right? Or no, I remember actually I replied to someone on a Twitter thread about this. I said, "You know what? He's ahead of his time, but good thing for him, he's into longevity. So he's going to live forever and catch up with himself." So one more time, I'm going to say what's up to the chat. I saw a few more friends come in. Facing Reality, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Nom Nom, hello, friend. What's up, the Pulse Tube? Oh, love your work. Love all you're doing. Crypto King in the house. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it, guys. Make sure you are smashing that little like button. Hey, tweet it out. I tweeted about this last night. I forgot to do it again this morning. But if you want to get some more eyes on this, get more people, I'll be streaming for probably an hour still. So we're gonna talk about it a little bit more. And Finn Bear, good to see you, friend. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it a lot. This stream means a lot to me. This in particular, this video, I'm gonna want to share this a lot because I really believe that Richard is going to change the world. I have no doubt about it. He already is. He's already changed many people's worlds, right? He's changed the lives of so many of his peers and fellow men and people that people that follow him, right? And this is just the tip of the iceberg, you guys. I can't express enough how early we are, not just crypto DeFi wise, right? But with Richard. And we're all going to win together because that's what he wants. And this man gets what he wants. So strap in, hold on, be a Richard Hart Maxi and really just dive in with me on who this man is and why he does what he does and how amazing it's all going to be. So let's continue. We're going to read a little bit more here. Pardon me, my nose. It's early still here. Okay. So speaking of Aubrey de Grey and him calling Richard a hero, this is a small paragraph from Longevity again. And this is a little bit of background on how Richard got to know who Aubrey de Grey was. Richard volunteered to help create a video for the Sense Foundation, founded by Aubrey de Grey. And then this is a little bit more about Aubrey than Richard. Aubrey's a tall guy with a long beard, almost to the floor, who used to say that there were two reasons he kept doing his work. The first was that no one wants to hear about the problems of aging people. And the second was his wife. She was an American fruit fly geneticist at the University of Cambridge. They divorced in 2017. She was born in 1944 and he in 1963. That's almost 20 years difference. Richard has heard Aubrey say, and this, y'all, listen to this. Richard has heard Aubrey de Grey, longevity guru, say, I predict the first person to live to 150 is probably already in middle age. I believe that person is Richard Hart. So if you take that into consideration, he's not even in middle age yet, right? He's like in quarter age or a third age, right? Because if we're living to 150, Richard's not even 50 yet. So definitely, if you're into this, if you want to know more about what Richard wants to perpetuate out into the world, again, check out Aubrey de Grey, check out David Sinclair. You can see Aubrey on Joe Rogan. They have done multiple interviews together, I believe at least 2. So check those out. Lots of really great information. David Sinclair they're both on Twitter, but David Sinclair does a lot of really good tweeting and a lot of, David Sinclair has a podcast called Lifespan. Check that one out. Really great stuff. I think they did a first run of it. It was, I believe, 8 episodes. They're going to do a second run if they haven't already. Really good stuff. All right. So let us look at a little bit more. All right. So this is a part that says, visualize how important every day is and how few you have. So let me just preface again, or talk a little bit about, I believe the reason that Richard is kind of pivoting at this point, I think it's a few things. I think he knows that, V3 is on its way, which means Pulse Chain is just slightly behind that, right? 2 more weeks. And I also think that as he's aging, as his parents are aging, he's going to want to bring so much more attention to longevity and that the science behind that and putting money into that. So again, here's some more from Richard. Imagine a situation where one's grandparents have all passed away. It's not awesome. I'm almost in that situation. I have one living grandparent remaining. If one wanted to call one's grandpa right now, he's dead. Can't call him. He was a nice guy, a smart guy, but now he's gone forever. Now imagine that you could have done something to prevent it. Would you ask yourself, did I do anything to help him at all? A single action? No. Watched him die. Okay, could I have done something? Yeah, probably could have done something. Do you want to maybe do something before your dad dies? Would that work for you? Or how about yourself? Would you want to do it for yourself? When does a person really die? The dream of being able to capture your own destiny and use science and progress to capture your own personal power and well being, it just dies with a whimper. That's incredibly sad, common, and a tragedy. How many people are sitting in old folks' homes right now that no one cares about? That is also a tragedy of immense proportions. There was a time when those people had meaning. There was a time when those people had opportunity, power, vibrancy, life, and attractiveness. When do they really die? Is it when their heart stops? Their brain stops? Or when they stop caring? Or do they die when we stop caring? Now, another thing that I love about SciVive is that if you read it like I have multiple times, or even just very actively paying attention to the themes and the things that Richard says over and over, or even the tone of the book in general. I think that's more where I'm going towards is the tone. Pardon me. More tears. What I love about it, another thing that I love about SciVive is that you can almost you can almost feel Richard wrestling with these thoughts and struggling with these ideas. I love that. I love that he's, you see him on these shows, people think he's narcissistic or um whatever it is, but or brags too much. He has every right to. He has every right to be that way, right? And it's beautiful that now you see him talking about being humble, right? So what I'm seeing as someone who's studied Richard's work, right? I feel like I'm not just a Richard Hart maximalist. I'm like a Richard Hart personality archivist or something like that. Like I'm a Richard Hart archaeologist, right? I've done some digging. I've done some digging because I wanted to know. I wanted to know who he was. And I love that he's several times he's said things like, "Hey, if the haters really cared to hate, if the haters really wanted to know who he was and what they should hate and why they should hate him, then they should read his book because all of his deepest core values and beliefs, everything that he's about and makes him who he is, it's all in the book, y'all. It's all there." So another what's up to the chat real quick. I saw a few more people jump in here. Hello, P Monkey. What is up? What is up? The Hexual Healer. Hey, 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 Empty Coiner. Good to see you. Benny Blanco, Orion, Spike. Love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, thanks to everyone on the replay. Keep those comments coming. I'd love to know your opinions. What do y'all think about this? What do you think about Richard? Have you read SciVive? Do you know? Do you know? Right? So I have a whole list of quotes from this chapter. I remember when I did the first narration, you can kind of tell I'm just reading the words, right? I didn't know who Richard was. I didn't really know how he spoke or his inflection or his tone or anything like that. I had maybe seen a few videos from him, so I didn't really I didn't do a great job, right? First time I'd ever done an audiobook. First time I'd ever done anything like that. Didn't really know much about Richard or his, how he acted or what he was about. And sorry. And so I was kind of quick reading it, right? Because I just wanted to do this audiobook, get it done, and then I was just gonna let it do its thing, right? Well, it's done a thing to me now. But all that to say that when I went through it the second or third time to study it better, to edit it, and to get more value out of it, when I read the longevity chapter and really read that chapter, my heart just exploded with love for who Richard is and what he's doing. Because you get all the way down to this last chapter of this book, Longevity. And you don't need to read the book in order. Richard says that in the book itself. Pick a chapter, pick something that calls to you, pick something that you think is going to help you personally, right? Do you need help with your money? Do you need help with finances? Read the money chapter. Do you need help with girls and going out and dating or guys, whatever, it's that that one I am going to put that out there that if you're looking for dating advice as a woman, this is not the book to read. If you're looking to find out how men might try to be picking you up, you get a little glimpse into that, right? That's the part that I'm like, yeah, his whole pickup artist stuff. However, e- regardless, like there's stuff about being a pickup artist in there, but the line that I love the most about pickup artistry that he says is how empty it is. He's very, very much aware of how empty that chase can be and how addicting it can be, right? He talks about that's his addiction, his girls, right? So back to longevity. All right. So again, all that to say the longevity chapter just really hit my heart the second time that I read it, and I was just enamored, right? So let's see. I'm going to read this paragraph because, again, it talks a little bit about a couple other people and longevity. Let's see. This is under the heading Take Responsibility. No one else is going to do it. And I'm skipping the first section part of it. It says in the second part, we are at the time where we do not have to pretend that there's nothing that can be done. There are things that can be done. And as Silicon Valley tech billionaire Peter Thiel said, they're underfunded. No one cares about them. Poor Aubrey de Grey has been giving talks on TED and at Google, and no one believes him. The listeners are just thinking, crazy guy, death is cool. Make people feel responsible. Inaction is action. And God, what a beautiful summary of this book. He talks about this book means nothing if you don't put it into action, right? Inaction is action. So if you're not doing anything, you're doing something. You're doing the wrong thing. All right, Schmex, good morning. Thanks for being here. Hey, I failed at sharing that clip earlier from your stream with Aubrey calling RH a hero. If you happen to post it, go ahead and link it in the chat so that everyone can see it, please. Yeah, I'm just not good at StreamYard that much. I have to figure that part out. I'm so sorry, y'all. All right. So let me continue. So, right, the listeners are just thinking, crazy guy, death is cool. Make people feel responsible. Inaction is action. Someone may be talking about a loved one by saying, he's got a 15% chance every year of developing an ailment. But that's really just what aging is. Except you didn't cause it, and therefore people don't feel responsible for it. But that's the only way to shock them into understanding that inaction is similar to causation. All right. I wonder too, especially because like there's a little bit here as I'm rereading Longevity right now, I'm seeing that there's kind of a recurring part about grandparents. So it makes me wonder, Did did Richard have a good relationship with his grandparents? And then in that, did he come to a point where he realized, "Hey, man, like, I wish I had had more time with my grandparents." I feel that way, absolutely, especially my grandfather. My grandpa was y'all, and real quick Reader's Digest version of my life, I was adopted, met my birth family in my 20s, so didn't get to meet my grandpa until I was 20 years old, my birth grandpa. But this man, my grandpa, was an actor, he was a singer, he's in The Aviator, he's an extra in The Aviator with Leonardo DiCaprio. I love it. And he's a writer. I got a lot of his creativity, like, that got passed on to me. And boy, I tell you what, I wish I had spent more time with him. I wish that I had been there more, and I wish I would have known about longevity so that I would have had the chance to help him live longer, right? I feel responsible. And now that responsibility is on me for my parents, for my loved ones, right? Because it's like Richard's saying right here, inaction is action. You all now, you all, anyone watching this right now, you're responsible. Now you know. You know that there is something you can do. You know that longevity exists. You know that this research is happening, and you know that there are steps that you can take and that you can tell your family about to help them live longer, right? Of course, they need to be willing to take those steps as well, but you need to be aware of the fact that now that you have this knowledge, it's irresponsible for you not to share it and not to pass this on and not to, you know, m move forward and uplift all of this work that these amazing men are doing. Alright, let's read a little bit more here. Thanks for waiting. I appreciate y'all's patience. Oh, so check out I'll go to the chat real quick. Thank you so much, Max, for coming by. Hello, good morning. If y'all have a moment, go ahead and check that link out. That's what I was trying to share a little bit earlier. Good stuff. Good stuff. Davis, good morning. Good to see you. I think I've said hello to everybody, I believe. Yes. Okay. So let me see this here. All right. This is another cool, this is a little kind of little story from Richard. Now, if you once this text that I have edited is released, if you ever wanted to, there's a really cool program where you can take the text of this edited version. And then I don't know if I got around to this or if I said this part, but especially because Max is here and watching, what I've done in terms of editing, again, and I think I kind of went into this a little bit. I'm not a professional editor. It's something that I love doing. All of the text that I've edited is now going to a professional editor thanks to Max. And I think we're hoping by May, is that right, Max? That we're gonna have an actual version of SciVive that's ready to be published. So that at that point, the ball is a little bit in Richard's court, and we're gonna need to get some information and feedback from him on how he wants to move forward with that. Anyways, all of that to say, that once that version is out, you'll be able there's a cool tool where you can take that text and then take the original text and line them up and see all the changes that were made. I say that because there were sections of the book where Richard spoke in the first person, but most of the book is not in the first person. And in fact, it seems as though instead of using himself as first person, he uses SciVive kind of as an entity, right? Like SciVive wants you to do this or SciVive wants you to do that. So I took sections like this and changed it so that it was in third person. So originally this said something along the lines of, I once dated a woman, blah, blah, blah. But now you'll see as I read it how it was changed. Richard once told a woman he dated that if he had unlimited funding, he'd pursue ending aging. She said, "Well, if that's what you want to do with the limited time we have here." Now, to Richard, ending aging is a pretty worthwhile goal and acceptable use of his limited time here. The perception that we don't have a choice about dying can be changed. We can fight it. If we show what the dying looks and feels like through the experiences of some seniors going through the process, maybe we can get them to open up about how scary death is and how they don't want to die, even by natural means, right? Aging. Then maybe we can change people's view about the inevitability, it's early, of dying. Then maybe we can change people's view about the inevitability of dying and aging. And that section was titled Media. So Richard's kind of talking about like legitimately, like almost like a reality TV show where you're watching people slowly die and like going through the death process. Like what a trip. What a crazy show that would be, right? Like would you guys watch that? That'd be tough, but that would bring it into reality for people, right? Because there are so many, just like he said earlier, or like I read earlier, there's so many people in old folks' homes just sitting there waiting to die, and they don't have loved ones around. They don't, they're just like part of that paragraph said too, are they already dead because someone has stopped caring, right? What a sad thing to think about. Um, okay. Do, 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 do. So here's another good part here. And this I think this I think kind of really speaks to the core of everything that Richard is doing, because the recurring themes within SciVive of taking action, of caring about your fellow man, and of realizing that your life is worth saving, right? Those things occur and reoccur throughout this book over and over again. And it's so beautiful to see that Richard has this desire to see other people win, to see other people succeed, to see people live longer, right? Good people, right? He definitely talks about in the book, if you're a waste of space and you're a scammer or you're someone who's leading people down the wrong path, nope, no longevity for you. We don't want that, right? Like you're not the kind of person that we want around for a longer amount of time at all. So it's it's the good in the world that Richard wants to see continue and perpetuate and grow. And it's just a beautiful thing. All right, so here's another. Ooh, I hope you didn't hear that. My tummy is growling. Here's another really cool section from the longevity chapter. The first step to scale is to convince people their own lives are worth saving and they can be saved. I'm going to stop there real quick because I believe that that's also part of the reason that Richard wants to make everyone rich, right? It's like Hex isn't the end game. And if you listen to some of his older interviews, you will understand that he has always wanted to bring this back to longevity and to bring this back to saving people's lives, right? To me, what I see and what I think Richard would agree with this is that Hex is just a means to an end. Hex is the thing that he's hoping, Hex and Pulse Chain, right, are things that people are going to find value, right? They're going to become wealthy because he's done this amazing code and, created these amazing products. And maybe when people have more money, maybe when people value themselves a little bit more or see more value or more worth within themselves, maybe then they will realize how important longevity is and how important it is that they take care of themselves and take care of their health and do more to perpetuate good in this world, right? So, I'm going to read that line again because I think this is part of the heart of Richard and the core of this book. The first step to scale is to convince people their own lives are worth saving and they can be saved. And I think that we are going to see a lot more from Richard in these coming months and years about longevity and about saving your own ass, right? So then it continues, skipping the outreach and directly funding research. And this he wrote before he raised the 27 million for SENS. Skipping the outreach and directly funding research, as SENS does with the Buck Institute, for instance, isn't as good an idea. For SENS takes in less than a few $1,000,000 per year, which obviously changed thanks to Richard. And the potential for investment in the space is several orders of magnitude larger. Their pitch just doesn't seem to resonate, so it's time for a better pitch. A person's donations should both feel great giving and have a real world measurable effect that is significant. Thus, no two donations have the same meaning to them. Okay, cool. So this next part is really good too. Um, let's see. I want to say what's up to another face in the chat here. Hello, hardware. Good to see you. Yeah, he says the ancients, they say, I don't know. The ancients knew about immortality. They didn't need the tech. They knew about the tech of the body. And we've come so far away from that. I totally, totally agree with that. Lots of good stuff. I'm not going to go too much into the comments today, just because I want to get through this, and it's probably going to be another hour. You guys, if you want to hang out, cool. If not, I'm going to try and do timestamps for this one later. But I feel like this is a good place to be here, to pick apart this part of the book and to really dive into who it is that Richard is. So, anyways, hardware, good to see you. Appreciate you. All right, so this paragraph says, choose your image. Hide your desire to live, or just come out with it and hear lots of nonsense about it from the malinformed. SciVive does not want to push an agenda, but if it helps people live a couple years longer, it'd be worth it. SciVive hopes to get the job done by just being straight up and telling people that living longer would be cool. For some reason, you're hypnotized to think it would be terrible. And if you lived a couple years longer, the whole world would explode, but it would actually be all right. This is a lot like atheism. If you're truthful about it, depending on where you live and your circumstances, you may be killed for your honesty. For instance, if you were a Muslim and then you say there's no God, yeah, the death penalty is prescribed. Being a SciViver should pay you enough profit to eat the slings and arrows of outrageous idiots in most places. All right, let's see. Your team. Okay, this is also good. This is under the subheading arguments against eternal life. And, because there are a lot, and this, Aubrey just spoke about this with Max on that interview. There are a lot of people out there that are going to say, oh, you don't want to, like, what about all the resources? If all these people are living longer, are we going to have enough food for everyone? This, that, and the other thing. And so this is kind of one of the devil's advocate argument type parts. It says bad for the individual. So here's an argument against longevity, right? You'll get bored. You'll have to watch your loved ones die. Like Tithonus, you'll live forever in a terrible state. It's against God's will. People will force you to live forever. Then he says, do you think less people make progress faster? What's your target level of depriving life of existence? How do you plan to keep mankind robust from extinction events on a single planet? You might just need more people. What do you think our technology would look like if we had 10x less people for the last 100 years? A complete and honest representation of people's concerns is beneficial to all parties. Curing aging isn't immortality. The reason no one cares about medical research now is because many figure that life will just gradually suck before they die and that they'll be happy to die. Staying alive is 100 times more expensive if you're old. All right. Breakthrough. Okay, here's another good one. This is titled The Breakthrough. How valuable is your future? Is your future important enough to save for? Wait, sorry. If your future is important enough to save for, it's important enough to be around for. And what a great sentence. Okay. So, people have their 401ks, their savings accounts, right? Many people, almost everyone, saves for retirement. So many people have this ideology of saving for when you're older. Well, if you're not focused on your own longevity and living longer, how do you know you're even going to be around to enjoy that, right? To have that money that you're saving. So he continues, if your future is worth oh God, this line. Oh, hold on. Deep breath. This is good. If your future is worth saving, it's worth SciViving for. I'm going to say it again. If your future is worth saving, it's worth SciViving for. I love it. Do you save money? Do you have a savings account? If you are saving for the future so that someday in the future you can have more money because it provides safety, then okay, one would say that's a very common behavior. One would say that's a positive behavior. It reduces the volatility in one's finances. It's important. It turns out that dying is probably more common than going broke. The chance that you will die is a lot more likely than the chance that you'll go bankrupt. If some new technology comes around, you need to be able to afford it. You cannot fund it to the degree that you exclude yourself from using it by donating so much money to research that you can't afford the outcome of the research. That's probably a bad decision. Pardon me 1 second. I burped. Hi, John J UK, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Okay. Here's another good one. And this again, this is another theme that Richard talks about over and over again in SciVive. What do we need? What do we need? We need more human beings doing more intelligent things that benefit other people. If I just had one thing to say, there it is. If I had to give you guys one sentence to show you that this is not weird, that Richard is and has been the same person all along, and this is all calculated and 100% a part of his plan, this is what Richard thinks we need. We need more human beings doing more intelligent things that benefit other people. There's that beautiful quote that he has said, and I've seen pop up over and over again. His cup is already full. His cup is overflowing. He wants to see other people's cups overflow. That's it. I mean, it's freaking simple as that, y'all. Like, this man has a heart of gold and simply wants to see everyone succeed. He wants to see no, let me take that back. He wants to see good people succeed. He wants to see people that are going to benefit this world and benefit one another. He wants to see those people succeed. And you know what? A lot of people that follow him, we're those people. And that, again, is another beautiful thing. The fact that when Richard has been asked what his greatest accomplishment is, it's not getting all the girls. It's not Gucci, Prada, Louis Vuitton. It's not Hex. It's not Pulse Chain. Do you know what he has said? It's the community. It's this community that has been, oh, I got teary-eyed, sorry. Wow, that was unexpected. Um, It's the community, you guys, like, that's his number 1 greatest accomplishment is us, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm still at this point fluctuating around break even, right, with what I've invested in Hex. I haven't seen mad gains. I got in 2021. Like, I'm not an OG. I'm not an OG. I think some people think that because of all the work that I do with SciVive and um how much I perpetuate who Richard is, right? But I'm not. the, what has and I would be happy if I'd never made a penny. If all of this went to zero and I never made a dime, I'd still be the happiest person that I am because it's changed my life. The words in his book have literally changed the course of my life. And not just that, right? Like the book has changed the book changed slowly over time. This book really changed me at my core and who I am as a person and what I do and um along with that, this community has changed my life, right? That's why I'm so I'm so emotional right now because there is nothing greater than having a group of people who want to see you succeed, who come alongside you and build you up. You guys, this project, my bus project, would not be possible if not for this community. It's already amazing. And the fact that I have had so many community members reach out to me to say, "What do you need? Hey, when you come here, you can park your bus here. Hey, if you need help with electrical, if you need help with plumbing, if you need help with whatever it is, people in this community care about one another. They want to see each other succeed. And that is because the person who created this community, Richard Hart, that is the core of who he is. He wants to see us succeed. He wants to see us grow. He wants to see us live for live forever. He wants to see us all be able to experience life in this amazing way. Okay, hold on. Drink some water. Let's just take a minute. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Oh, you guys. Okay. Okay. All right. Um, all right, so I don't think I even finished. Yeah, I didn't finish this. All right, so this is the paragraph that was making me tear up. Okay. So let me start this paragraph over. Read the whole thing. What do we need? What do we need? We need more human beings doing more intelligent things that benefit other people. We need more people acting in their own best interests. We need more people to understand what their own best interests are, which means less complacency, less cowardice, and more correct, heroic, honorable action. And that's what you're going to see from Richard. Correct, heroic, honorable action. If you want to become a scientist and you want to get into biology and biotech, great. If you've got money and you're saving your money for the future, but you're not saving your health for the future, you're doing it wrong. I could just end it right there. That's it. Boop, done. um, wow. Oh, yeah. Amazing, you guys. Richard, you're amazing. Thank you. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for writing this book. Thank you for putting out into the universe this idea and this thought and that energy, right? Because you're one of the only ones doing it, man. Like you are. And it's great that we all get to be a part of this community. Um, let's see. Let's see. Um, sorry, my ears keep popping. Oh, wow. There was something else I wanted to read. that gave, because I wanna give you guys more resources, like I spoke about earlier. Make sure you check out David Sinclair's Lifespan podcast. Make sure you check out Aubrey de Grey's work. He's written several books. Um, let's see. And then again, check out you know what? Let me see. Let me see if I can find this real quick. I'm going to find Richard Hart, and I'm going to bring up this tweet so that I can share with you this other longevity, this other person that just invested in longevity. Here we go. Here we go. I'm going to link this person's Twitter. Here we go. Sam Altman. Sam Altman is, I think, the CEO of OpenAI. And according to Richard's tweet, Richard says here, "Thank you at Sama for trying to save our lives. Your $180 million personal dominates my $27 million raised." And then the little picture says, "Biotechnology. Sam Altman invested 180 million into a company trying to delay death." And then it says, this is like the header of a article. "Can anti-aging breakthroughs add 10 healthy years to the human lifespan? The CEO of OpenAI is paying to find out." So that's another person to look into that is going to have great information on longevity, or at the very least, you can find out which who he donated to, and follow that company. Okay, so let's get back over here. Let's see. Okay, here is another good one. I think that this is, again, something that he's on this right now, right? The heading says, "Increase the awareness. People do what they care about. Most people care about what they are most people care about what they are very well advertised to care about, and things they already have a natural emotional propensity to develop a caring for. That competitive, 'I'd prefer that they die instead of me' kind of feeling we have comes so rarely in life because we lead such a life of leisure. That's part of the reason that sport is so popular. You can experience those same emotions of, 'This is really important and I have to win.' But the funny thing is that it's just a construction. You are constructing something that you can think is important, so you can have those once more common feelings. That's the purpose of a haunted ride attraction or a scary movie, to trigger some emotions that you rarely get to feel. SciVive wants to evolve the framework to bring out the light that will unhide what no one is noticing or paying attention to. This piece of junk that comes and kills us in our sleep as we are enjoying our lives." So again, remember what I said earlier about when I was editing, seeing how Richard fluctuated between first person and talking as if he were SciVive. When you read this book and you see the words, SciVive thinks, SciVive wants to, SciVive is, that's Richard. Richard is SciVive. So understand that these sayings and the things he's saying as SciVive, right? Like that's him. That's what he wants to see be moving forward in the world. Okay. Ooh. Ooh. This is not necessarily on topic, but I did mention, I think, a little bit serendipity earlier, right? 369, all of that jazz. The title of this is Serendipity and the Law of Attraction. Let me see. No, actually I lied. I'm going to skip that. It's not related. We're going to keep going on here. So eventually I think I'm going to publish this quotes that I have. I'd been just sharing it out with people so that people could help me with the quotes, which I'm just doing now because Richard Richard was saying something about a hot girl. So I was, and he, um, maybe I'm a hot girl. So I decided to just do them all myself. But I have this huge document with quotes from every single chapter, and I'll probably put that out at some point so people can check that out. But here are these are three quotes. Hey, Richard, if you're watching, I might just clip this. Everybody should clip this part and send it to Richard. Dear Richard Hart, I'm doing the audiobook, right? But everyone wants to hear your voice. People would love to hear your voice. Now, our friend gave me a little bit of audio. So you will hear Richard a little bit in this book, because I was able to get a couple audio clips uh, from a friend of a friend of a friend, okay? Now, what I would love, Richard, I would love it if you would read these three quotes and send them to me because they're great. So these are the three quotes. All of them are from the longevity chapter. And man, if Richard could read these and I could put them in the book as I'm doing the last chapter right now, it would be great. That'd be super spectacular. Here are the three quotes. Death is coming for you, for everyone that you love, and someone needs to be the guy to yell, fire, not death. And then in parentheses, he says, I've got to be the guy. I want him to say this. Richard, please. I've got to be the guy that points directly at you through this book of science and survival, through my word, directly in your face, and tell you that you need to save your own life. How cool would that be to hear Richard say those words? All right, here's the second quote. A billionaire trying to make the world a better place is usually better than a billionaire who is a greedy bastard. There's surely exceptions. It's not the status of a billionaire that's important per se, but the quality of their charitable endeavors. And lastly, the world needs more SciVivers. The more SciVivers there are, the happier and healthier we all shall be. Y'all, mic drop. Those, if nothing else, those three quotes show you the heart of Richard Hart, who he is, what he's about, and why it is that you're going to see more and more, I believe, over the coming months, his charitable actions, his philanthropy, right? Like, he's going to change the world, and we're all on board. We're all going to be a part of that. So I think I'm going to end it there with that's my call to action. My call to action to Richard. Or if anyone can find any of those quotes in maybe an interview that he's done, I'll have to use that hex search and see if I can find them, because some of this stuff is, has been brought over from speeches that he's done. But man, what an amazing human being Richard Hart is. I hope that you all will take the time to read or listen to SciVive. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me as I react to a lot of these words and as I try to put out into the world the fact that Richard is doing what he's been doing all along, which is trying to save our asses. He's, not just financially, right? But physically as well. He wants to see us do well. He wants to see all of us succeed. And he wants us to be around for the next 5555 and beyond so that we can enjoy together and build Hexaco. So at the end of this here, little shameless self-plug, check out the Patreon. I'm going to be posting a lot more there in terms of blogs. If you want to get to know me a little bit more, you want a little bit of insight into my life, who I am, what I do, that's the best place to find it. And later today, actually, so speaking of Hexaco, I started a new series. Today at 3:30 Central Time, I'm going to be interviewing Nate Mintz, formerly Nate Stakes. And I'm hoping to do this every Friday. If you're interested, if you're a part of the community and you are okay with the world getting to know you a little bit more, this is the show for you to come on and to really get we're going to get personal, right? Not super personal, but this show, it's twofold. It's to get to know people on a more personal level, and it's also going to be to get to know to grow, really to like build up Hexaco virtually right now, right? What is it? And I'm eventually like, I will have a website where we have a list of all these different people, what they offer in the community, whether it's for free or they're paid or whatever it is, right? If you have a skill, if you have a talent, if there's something that you do that you want to contribute to this community, which most people do, right? A lot of us are content creators. But a lot of us do other things. Like, for great example, Marco the Hexican, like, look at all the awesome things he's doing, all the things that he's creating. And there's, I mean, tons of people out there. I could go on and on about all of the amazing creators, content wise and product wise, and on and on and on it goes. So what I'd love to do, what I'd love to see, is a comprehensive list of all of these people all over the world who do all these amazing things and have all these amazing products, right? Kind of like a Hexagon, co-op, right? Where we're all working together. We've all got these things, right? Like, hey, like, you make seed phrase casing things, right? Like DOSBomb is doing, or and I need some kind of manufacturer for something, right? Maybe this Hexagon over here, Pulsekin, whoever, maybe they do that kind of manufacturing, right? Maybe you have a t-shirt design idea and you need someone to print the t-shirt. There's tons of people in our community who are doing stuff like that. So really, what I'm hoping for me personally to bring to this community is to bring in all of to make connections, right? So that we're way more connected to each other, and that this community just continues to grow and it grows stronger. So again, check out my show later today, 3:30 CST. And if you're interested in coming on, if you want a little bit more exposure in the community, you want people to know a little bit more about you, come on the show. I would love to have you. Hit me up. My DMs are open. You guys, thank you again so much for being here. Thank you for being my community. Thank you for being my friends. I can't wait for the next meetup. I think the next time I'm going to see y'all is going to be the Hex Cruise in April. If you haven't already, man, get on that boat. We are going to the Bahamas. It's April 24th to the 28th. Check out KSB, ksb.tv. Hold on. Hex Cruise? Hexcruise.com. There it is. All right, I'm going to post this in the chat. Hexcruise.com. And super secret teaser. Be on the lookout for an upcoming announcement from myself, RG3, and Black Hexagon. We got something we're stirring in the pot, you guys. And I am stoked. I'm so excited. So stay tuned. Thank you so much again for being here. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a wonderful day. You are loved and you are Hexaco. Bye, guys.